Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Alright guys, what you're about to witness is absolutely wild. In this clip, an ex-Donald Trump advisor, someone who carries that title like it guarantees authority, completely unravels in real time. And I don't mean a small slip-up or a minor stumble. I mean falling apart the moment she's confronted with one simple, straightforward question. This isn't just political debate theater. This is a full-on exposure of how talking points can crumble when reality shows up. You'll see confidence turn to hesitation, assertions melt into confusion, and an attempted display of expertise collapse under pressure. Trust me, you're going to want to watch this all the way to the end. I'll break down every moment, highlight the jaw-dropping gaps in her argument, and show you exactly why this matters in the broader conversation about free speech, politics, and media spin. This is one of those clips that's not just entertaining, it's revealing. So buckle up, stay tuned, and get ready for a moment of pure political unraveling.
It's funny that you think that he's taking a dig. Do you not think that when an 82-year-old man is arrested for posting something on Facebook, that is not a form of censorship?
Well, it depends what he posts, doesn't it? Depends if it's legal.
Well,
what did that 82-year-old man post?
Well, let's back up a minute here. If we are starting to scrutinize everything that someone says, if we're arresting them because it is hate speech.
What is the? You mentioned a specific case there. What is it this 82-year-old was arrested for?
Honestly, I can't remember, but what I do remember...
You're telling me that it's outrageous that an 82-year-old man was...
Back up a minute.
No, sorry, this is important because you just said this is an example of free speech under threat in the UK, but you can't tell me what he was arrested for.
I don't remember the
So why are you bringing it up then?
I brought it up as an example that if we are scrutinizing what an 82-year-old man posts on Facebook...
But you can't assess that without knowing what he said, can you?
Well, you know what? Let's just say I brought up a wrong example because I don't have the context
Could it possibly be now because it's all a load of nonsense and free speech isn't under threat in the UK at all, which I think you've just demonstrated respectfully?
You know what? I've been there I've lived in the UK for 24 years. And yes, I do believe that censorship, it started with political correctness.
Right.
And as political correctness moved from accusing people of microaggressions and then people getting triggered over what somebody said, it has been a form of putting a speech straitjacket on people.
So what can't you say in the UK right now without being arrested that you think people should have the right to say?
You know what? That's a very good question.
It is. Thank you.
It is. I can't answer that question, and I can't give you an example exactly. But see,
so
what I find interesting.
Sorry, Jane. You've given me an example of free speech being under threat. You can't tell me what the person said.
Well,
I've asked you for one single thing that you can't say in the UK without the fear of being arrested, and you can't think of anything. It's because Britain still is a country, compared to the United States, by the way, where free speech absolutely exists and always will.
Well, we both see it differently then.
But you can't give me any single point of evidence whatsoever to back up your idea.
Why don't you give me an example of how free speech still exists and censorship is not there?
Because you don't get arrested by the police for saying anything that isn't incitement or hate speech in this country. People are free to express their opinions. People are free to give their views. We do not have a police state in this country, unlike, I might say, the way that the United States is going under Donald Trump.
Well, that's interesting because it's not going that way with Donald Trump. It was going that way, and it's now reversing itself.
Right. So banning journalists from the White House because you don't like what they've written, demanding the impeachment of judges because you don't like what they've ruled, sacking government officials because they've dared to criticise you at any point in recent years, defunding universities because they're not doing what you do, threatening law firms if they don't toe the party line, defunding media organisations that you think are against you, arresting students because of what they've written on social media, and ramping up checks of people entering the UK to check they haven't posted anything on Facebook that you don't like, doesn't amount to any sort of attack on free speech.
That's really twisting things without the specific
facts.
examples. You're giving
facts.
No, you're giving examples the same way I gave the example
But you
of
didn't
the
give any
82-year-old
examples, and I've just
man.
given you 10.
No, you've just given me a very biased perspective.
Bias is facts. All of those things have happened. Which of those haven't happened? Have journalists been banned from the White House under the Trump administration?
Have journalists been banned, or have they brought in alternative media that presents a different
I'm not talking about
angle?
Have journalists from organisations like the Associated Press been banned by the White House, yes or no?
Yes, they have.
Right. Have judges been threatened with impeachment because the White House doesn't like their rulings? Yes or no?
Let's not do it that way. Let's go back to that. And yes. Why were they? Why were they banned?
But so we accept. Right? Are we accepting that all the things I just suggested have happened?
If you don't let me finish, then we can't really have a conversation here because you've got a very biased perspective.
I'm not
here,
biased at all.
Very angle.
I'm giving you facts, and I'm just asking whether you recognise that those things are true.
You know what? It's so interesting. Did we not have a bunch of fake news here? And in the U.S., we did. And why? Why did we have fake news? Because it was biased and it was wrong. And so that is one of the reasons. You're listing 10 things and cutting me off.
Right.
But then why was the Associated Press no longer welcome? Because they gave fake news that has been proven. But
Jenny, you coming on the national radio station here on LBC and saying an 82-year-old man being arrested is an attack on free speech without having a clue what he's actually said is not fake news at all.
It's not that I haven't had a clue. I can't remember the specifics.
Right.
But the fact that
But how can you know it's an attack on free speech if you can't remember what he'd actually said?
Well, it's very interesting because you started this off by saying J.D. Vance had a dig. And so we don't get to have an intelligent discussion about whether there really is censorship going on, if people are afraid to speak out. But
he has had a dig, and that's his own language. He said previously when he talked about the UK...
No, you called it a...
So here's the kicker. This isn't a one-off. This is the second time I've seen Dr. Jan Helps come on a show trying to defend something. And once again, she completely falls apart. Now, these are people who are meant to be highly intelligent, right? She's a Trump advisor, carries the title doctor, so you naturally assume she knows what she's talking about. But where does that intelligence show up when it matters? When confronted with actual pushback, when asked a concrete question, she has nothing. It's almost baffling. You watch her attempt to give an example, expecting the audience to just take her word for it. But the second someone challenges her, all the confidence evaporates. And this isn't just about her, it's about the larger pattern we're seeing. Even when J.D. Vance sat down with David Lammy and spoke about free speech, the frustration was palpable. If any country right now is under attack in terms of freedom of expression, it is the United States of America. Let's recap just a few of the examples that show how aggressively free speech has been tested in recent years. Donald Trump sanctioned or blocked critics and lawyers, pressured universities by threatening to cut funding over campus speech policies, restricted journalists and certain media outlets from entering the White House, even prohibited words in federal communications like gender and LGBT, and retaliated against public critics, all under the guise of authority. He strong-armed organizations like Stephen Colbert's into bending to his will, and cracked down on protests, the most fundamental right in a democracy. And yet, When Jan Helps was asked a simple, pointed question, "What has J.D. Vance done?" she had absolutely nothing to respond with. She couldn't answer because she simply doesn't have the foggiest idea. This is the reality when dealing with some of the Trump administration's defenders. A lot of confidence, a lot of talk, and very little substance. It's embarrassing, plain and simple. The same pattern repeats itself every time pushback comes. No facts, no examples, just bluster. That's why watching this clip isn't just entertaining, it's revealing. It shows exactly what we're up against, the kind of discourse being pushed, and how easily talking points crumble when confronted with reality. So, I really want to hear your thoughts on this one. Drop them in the comments below. While you're there, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a thumbs up, purely for the algorithm, but also to let me know you want more breakdowns like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.